myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Geordies here, Geordies there, joined by George, Kevin, Mitch, Steve, Stu and Alwaleed as we look back at the last 7 days at Newcastle United. No Steve Hasty tonight. We've given him the night off. He's going to get his hair done, I think, and take the dog out for a walk. So I hope he has a nice night. I did see him this afternoon, though. He was fit as a lop. And I just want to let people know he doesn't get offended by these dog lookalikes. And believe you me, I've already had an inbox full this week. So roll on Friday. No game this week. Obviously, a time to reflect though on last weekend's game. George, we've already had your opinion, mate, and we do ask George on this show. So I'm going to skip on just to the couple of the lads who haven't had their say. Mitch, we obviously had you on as well on Friday, and Stu. So I'm just going to go to Steve and Alwaleed. Just your views on the Forest game, lads. Steve, you first. It was a tough place to go, but we got 3 points, mate.
Yeah, well, I think we went in confident a little bit after the Wolves win, and also a little bit wary of the fact that Forest had a good home record. But it was one of those games where you would expect to win if you were in contention for the top places, as we are, and that's what happened. And it's a shame it took a last-minute penalty to get it, because I think overall we were well on top. It was potentially another 4-1. We beat was it Fulham 4-1, Southampton 4-1 away, and arguably we could have won that one 4-1 as well. And nobody could have argued that it was an unfair score. We hit the bar twice in the first half. You've been over in every other show. Nobody can understand the offside rule. I think it's a good one for Ask George, because if you ask George what the offside rule was in 1950 odd when he was there, it's very simple. Nowadays it isn't.
Absolutely.
So that was one decision. But I think what came out of it was that there's some players are emerging. I think Isak now looks the part, and every chance that he could end up being top scorer this season, even more than Almiron's already got, particularly now that he's going to be missing for a few weeks. If he carries on in that vein, Anderson, impressive start coming on, and probably would, if it wasn't for the fact that Joe Linton's coming back, would be worth his place against Man U ahead of ASM. But I suspect Joe Linton will come back and play in that same formation that we did in the early part of the season, with Joe Linton playing wide and interacting and interfacing with Joe Willock, who's again now emerging back to his best. It would be nice if he could finish this season as he did a couple of years ago and get 7 or 8 goals, and cement our place in the Champions League. I'm still confident that we can get it. The confidence boost if we can beat Man United and go above them in the league. To go back to third, which potentially we can at that stage, will be a big boost. And I think we can go through to the end of the season with I'm following Stu's line that he talked about at the weekend on the professionals about how many points we can get off the games. We've only really lost against even if you go back to last season, there was a dodgy defeat at Everton, a dodgy defeat at Chelsea. There's only the Liverpool, Man City, and Man United in the final that's beaten us in this whole year and a half or so. So I'm very optimistic, and that was an encouraging performance to set us on our way. Pity we're not playing this week, because I think it would be good if we could get that game played without having the international break.
Alwaleed, it was another good win. Nottingham Forest, a difficult place to go, as they've proved this season, but I've said on the show a couple of times this week, I think that was probably our best performance so far this year.
Good evening, all. Ramadan Kareem to all as well.
Hi.
I would like to talk about maybe different idea. But since the final against Manchester United, I really realized that Eddie Howe play man to man. No games, just man to man. So it's sometimes it's comparing to the opponent situation. If we are better in tactics, stamina, we in our day we beat the opponent, we beat the team. So with the Liverpool, Manchester, uh, Arsenal, you can see the difference. And against Wolverhampton and Nottingham Forest, it was difficult, but we win because we are the better team regarding man to man. We are better. So what I'm saying that Eddie Howe style is like man to man. So I believe if we make the team stronger in the summer window, we will be able to win over the teams because we are playing man to man. I hope I did explain really my
No,
point.
you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, I definitely think there's been a change in, a slight change. There has to be when personnel go in and out. And I think, I think that the ethos that Eddie's had about working hard, training hard, is paying dividends, certainly at this period of time, because I think the biggest compliment, and again, I've said it this week, that we could pay the midfield, including Jacob Murphy, Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock, and Elliot Anderson, the four that finished more or less, that second half and got us over the line, got us the win against Forest. The biggest compliment we could pay is we didn't miss Almiron, we didn't miss Joe Linton, and we didn't miss Anthony Gordon. And I think that shows. Wilson. Well, I'm just talking about the midfield in general, Steve. I just think that the biggest compliment we can pay them is we didn't miss some key players. Yeah. We were all going into those games going, Anthony Gordon, that's a nightmare. And then, Wilson, as you say, Wilson's misfiring. Joe Linton praying that he wasn't going to get
off Bruno as well, Steve.
Oh, massively, yeah. But that is down to the coaching, that is down to the management, and that is the fact that the people who are coming into the team, George, know their jobs. You know what I mean? And that's what Eddie Howe's got them drilled in. And if you listen to his press conferences, I mean, he's very cryptic at times, but he tries, he gives what he wants to give. But I think George, the key really, and what will be judged on where we finish. We've got to a cup final. We didn't win it. We should finish in a European position, hopefully the Champions League. But at the end of the day, George, the players come in and they know what they're supposed to do. Yeah. Everyone follows the same pattern. Everyone does the same. And those who don't get found out, which is why I think ASM is, he's struggling to play the pressing game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, have you got anything to say on it, George?
Well, just that totally agree with what you're saying. And the important thing for me, that there's the other things around Friday, I think, as I've said elsewhere, is that when young Anderson, that goal was disallowed, a lot of young players would have been put off by that. That would have been the end of the game. But he didn't. He just rolled his sleeves up and got on with it and played even better, if you like, for the rest of the game. And similarly with Botman, he made a wreck all right, but he didn't let it spoil his game. Within a couple of minutes, he was back to his clinical best. And they're all good signs for me in terms of the team and how drills them. The other good thing was to hear young Isak talking after the match in the press conference when they were Kelly Dalglish asked him about why did he drift out to the left, and he was straight. He says, "Well, because that's what the coach told us to do. That's what the coach asked us to do." There was no he just came straight out with it. That's what the coach asked us to do. Now we now realize the coach asked him to do it because ESM wasn't doing what we wanted him to do. Seemed to be something hint that he might have been carrying an injury. Well, get him off. I mean, I think that's what part of the row on the touchline with Jones was about about ESM. No, you're absolutely right, Steve. They're well drilled, and there's a lot to be said about a team that's like that, because you can buy players who cost lots of money, wouldn't necessarily fit into what Eddie Howe does. They may not, and I think that's why they're so careful about how they get how they bring in and how they break them into the squad, and see how Botman was fed in, how Bruno was fed in, and that's all. Isak's been fed in. It all fits a pattern, which is for me only good for the future. Only good for the future.
Yeah, Mitch, it's it's one of the sorry, Kevin. So it's one of those things that we look at and think, we are going to struggle with the size of this squad, and it's something that gets talked about time and time again. But like I've just said, it's Eddie Howe's, he's got it right so far, hasn't he? And with the run in, I think I'll just get more confident, and I sensed it on the fans forum on Monday, Kev, that people are getting a bit more confident. People like Stu have been confident all the way through. But I think it's starting to filter through the fan base now. People are actually going, you know what? Why not the Champions League?
Exactly, and we said that Monday, but again, it's a 25-man squad, so he has to utilize what's at his disposal essentially. So he's done for me a masterclass in terms of coaching, getting those players who got us from the Championship into the Premier League to play at a higher level. Yes, it might not be Champions League level, it might not be what we're looking to do down in the future, but at the same time, it's a very well coached team, and they know their jobs. And every time somebody steps across that white line, that's what they have to provide. Again, if they do not, they'll, like the Frasers of the world, if there's a rift going on, if there's something else, if there's other underlying issues, he'll just not play. So again, it's utilizing the squad, and I think he's been very clever of how he's utilized it. So onwards and upwards again. And yeah, I'm just, again, the confidence is building with me. Not that I wasn't positive going into the year. It was more realism of actually where we could actually go, and not putting a ceiling on it, if you will, for a better term. It's endless, So yeah, I'm really confident going into the next 12, 11 games going in, and see where we finish.
Mitch, it's an amazing season, no matter what happens. But it does seem as if there is a bit more positivity surrounding the fan base, and Eddie Howe certainly got the, he seems to have got the knack. He's got the players, getting into that team, as I say, filling in the gaps, and we're coming up with the results. Two good results going into this break.
Part of the Stockholm syndrome I bang on and on about is we're all waiting for the wheels to come off. We're all waiting for the bad thing to happen, and we have been all season. And I don't think we've got a better chance with Liverpool, Chelsea and Tottenham in the way that they are, and Man United to a certain degree, to really push on. And what I've liked about from Howe is every time he's gone to the well and gone to the squad and say, hey, we need something from somebody here. Somebody's come up with the goods. Somebody's put a performance in. I thought the 45 minutes from Anderson on Friday was superb, stellar for a young man. That was it. Could easily be his coming of age, belief in himself. But we've got to have a bit more belief around the place and change our mindset and believe that things can happen if we wanted to. We know we're punching well above our weight. We're probably 2 or 3 years ahead of schedule. But why not grasp the opportunity? Absolutely grab it with both hands. It's there for the taking. It's in our hands. We're being forgotten about by certain sections of the media still. Yet if we do our job and concentrate on us, then it's in our own hands. We've got games in hand. We're playing well. We've actually got room for improvement too, because we know we can play better because we have this season already. People wetting their knickers about what's going to happen at Spurs. There's lots of data and stats that show if you change your manager at this time of the season, it really doesn't do much for you. If you look at, like I say, everybody seems to be waiting for the wheels to come off. I've even had chats with people via DM in particular, worrying about Saudis over investing and what could go wrong in the future. Stop worrying about what's going to go wrong in the future. Let's enjoy now. Because if we get it right now and everything goes according to plan, it's in our own hands to put ourselves in a hell of a position ahead of schedule, with the FFP being caught up. And actually, if we were to do something daft and actually get into the Champions League this season, what a better way to then justify hiking up some of the deals and hiking up some of the money to make that FFP balance quicker. And so the opportunities there are legion. We've just got to take it, and it's in our own control.
Most certainly is. Lots of questions coming in. We'll come to them in a second half. Don't forget to ask George as well halfway through the show. There is more of a positivity, Steve, isn't there, around the club, I think?
Very much so. I think the confidence has been there all the time. I think, we haven't had bad performances at all. When we've been playing poorly, we've still... It's been just probably the lack of ability to put the ball in the net. I mean, you take the Liverpool game with 10 men. That was one of the best performances for a while in the games ahead of that. We didn't play well against Fulham, but we got the win late on goal. We got draws in quite a few games around then, and I think Liverpool, it was a strange start. They got two instant goals, and it would have been great if we'd had 11 against 11 on that pitch, because I think we might have even got back into it, even with 10. If we'd scored in the second half and we had 10, I think it would have been a tremendous finish. And so we haven't been playing badly, and I think we can actually play better than we have, because I think we're now seeing that there is a squad. If you take the forward line that finished the game really on Friday, Murphy, Isak, and Anderson. That's a second string forward line from what we're playing in the first half of the season, but you wouldn't think it. So we've got quality right around the pitch, and people like Sean Longstaff are getting more confident. Willock is playing better. Joe Linton will come back firing all cylinders, I'm sure. So I think we've got a good squad, and I can just say it's doing well. And I think when you asked him for predictions the other night of where we'll finish, and I think it was George was the first one to say third, and I don't see any reason why we can't get third. We talk about the impact of other competitions on the European competitions. Well, there's only the two Manchesters really that are left in that are up the top, but Man United particularly have got a very difficult run in, because they're also in the FA Cup. So. And they're going to be missing Casemiro still I think the FA Cup game counted, didn't these 4? So I think he's got 3 more games. So they're going to be under strength. So I cannot see any reason why we cannot get third, and that's not just scraping into the Champions League. That's justifiably coming, just behind the 2 teams that are going to win it.
So, Stu, why have you been positive all the way through, and it's taken us all a while to catch up? I mean, did you just feel it in the water?
Well, I think it's always good to be positive. The world's full of negativity, isn't it? But you can be positive as long as you've got substance to it. And for those who like to go through NUFC Matters accounts to try and find things, let them try and find one of the reviews we did at the start of the season, and the reason why. And I was talking about other clubs who would be going through transition, and the way Newcastle finished the season last year, there was a real collective willingness to achieve with the group, and with the right additions which we made, not as many as I'm sure the club would have liked or we as fans would have liked, but they made the right ones, and that's what was said earlier. They've got the right characters. They don't have the Ronaldos. If you look at the difference to how Man United performed since they managed to get him out of the dressing room. So the one team that surprised me is not Newcastle, it's been Arsenal, and I still think they'll fall. Because Manchester City, I believe, will finish the season in a relentless manner. And Arsenal, if they lose the way fixture to Man City, they're just one draw away from dropping into second, and that psychologically make a massive difference. But Newcastle, I think there's a lot of people were more focused on what we were doing than what they should be doing. And I think Tottenham fell in that category. Manchester United were trying to just appease the manager by throwing 80 million at that's Anthony. Tell me he's played better than Murphy in the last few weeks, and I'll say you're lying. So it's not the money, it's the character, and obviously the ability comes into it. But Newcastle, to me, had a head start, and I genuinely believe that we'll finish in the Champions League. I know I said at the start of the season 5th, but as what Steve Wilkinson mentioned earlier, I've set my stall out that 71 points will get us Champions League qualification. And the way I explained it on the show on Sunday, it's very, very hard for other teams. It's ours to lose, definitely. It's very hard for the other teams to try and get into that. And as Steve Wilkinson just said there, we beat Man United in our next game, and we're third, irrespective that Tottenham play the day after. We're third. Why shouldn't we finish third? I mean, we can't get too above ourselves, but it's good. This is an amazing opportunity. And I know that I've mentioned previously, I would rather be in the Conference League than the Europa League, because the midweek games will be easier for us if the squad isn't as strong depth-wise. But if we're going to go for it, this is a golden opportunity to get in the Champions League. We should be grasping it with both hands, taking advantage of it, and finish the season with a rattle, which I'm really confident we will. I think the acid test is going to be the 3 games we've got when we come back.
Yeah.
And that we've got 3 games in 6 days. You know, we've got the Man United at home, then we've got West Ham away, who, whether they like it or not, or want to admit it or not, they're in a relegation battle. But they are capable of big performances on the day. And a lot of this now, for the next 10, 12 games, depending on which team is left, is a lot of it's going to be mental rather than physical or ability. And I think we've got the right coach to get these guys mentally tuned in and feel like a sense of achievement together. Then, like I say, we've got West Ham, then we've got Brentford away. If we come out with those 3 games unscathed and still in position to qualify for the Champions League with a game in hand, then the next game, I think, is it Tottenham or is it Everton? But when we have Tottenham at home, as I mentioned, my son supports Tottenham. I was speaking to him before I come on the show here. And I says to him, who's going to finish 4th? And he says, well, Tottenham. I says, no, who do you really think? Because I'm coming to see you in a couple of weeks' time. We'll have a bet. All right, it's Newcastle. And then it was about their manager. It was, there was loads of reasons behind it. So I asked him a simple question. Okay, let's say Newcastle get in the Champions League next season. Who are you going to support? And he says, Tottenham. So my reply to him was, no, I meant it with the big clubs. So he bit at that one. But let's get this. There'll be twists and turns along the way, and there'll be a roller coaster of emotion, and where our fan base is probably as good or bad as any, whichever way you're looking at not keeping a stable mind. We win, we're going to win everything. We lose, that's it. It's all finished. And that goes from over positivity to the Stockholm syndrome that Mitch loves to use the phrase. We have to accept that we're better and we're in a better place to grow and grow and grow, and sometimes stop looking for the worst. You don't have to hope for the best and get a big disappointment, but start expecting better. And collectively as a fan base, we should be moving on and being more positive with the situation we're in, because I'm 48 now. I've never seen, nearly 49, I've never seen this club in a better position to achieve success for a sustained period than what we're sitting in right now. And it will be like picking the scab. We get the first bit of success, then the rest will follow. And history shows you that. You get the teams that win once. Leicester did it. A few years later, they won the FA Cup. But the clubs with the financial ability and the bigger supports to do it. Look at Manchester City. They started winning. Manchester United went through a sustained period. Liverpool did it. I know it goes in cycles. But why can't it be our turn? We shouldn't be thinking, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And bear in mind, I've had a lifetime of supporting Newcastle, following Hearts in Scotland. So I'm used to failures on the football field more than most, So this is our time. We just need to sit back, trust the process, trust the people who are making decisions, because they want the success just as much as us, and enjoy it. Really, really enjoy it. And this is something in a generation's time you can be able to say, I supported Newcastle through that period. No matter how big we are then, I remember when it started. And this is the stage we're at. Manchester United on Sunday, I watched them. after we did the professionals, and they were distinctly average without Casemiro. He's their talisman, whichever way you dress it up, and he's going to be out for the next few games, isn't he? So it's an ideal opportunity for us to take advantage of them. And if, again, psychologically, we go into third, we play a game in hand during the week with the West Ham after we come back after hopefully beating Man United. Sorry, when we beat Man United 3-1. And if we can get a win at West Ham, it's the others will start looking up at us and thinking we're not going to catch these. These have got the momentum, and that's what we want. It's all possible. It's all achievable. But whatever happens, we'll support the club, and as we always have, we're supported through some dire times. We should be collectively enjoying this fantastic time and what's coming.
Yeah, 100%. Al Walid, Saudi Arabia. What are the fans feeling out there? I mean, it's early days, but you had the club out there, of course, and Shola Amiobi has been out and given a talk out there. So, what's the feeling amongst the fan base out there about how the team are performing?
Well, they are excited. They are discussing on daily basis everything going with Newcastle. We have a special WhatsApp group. It's called WhatsApp Society, and it's like 24 hours. It's the discussion. I feel even with my team Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, it's depend on the fan experience or the fan age or understanding of football, because I notice fans are different in opinions. Like, for example, in Twitter, when you say something negative about the club or the result, you don't know who's talking. Is he really understand what's going on? Is he experienced? Is he just a kid, emotional, talking just about result, not behind the scene? But the fans are very excited, and they really wish for here in Saudi. They wish for Champions League seat. It's excited. Last year we were talking about the relegation teams. This year we're talking about beating the top 6, and hopefully coming year we talk about Barcelona and Milan and other teams in Champions League, or even in the Europe League. Minimum expectation. Really, we're happy, and we're more excited also about the signings because, as I said earlier, we play man to man more than like, for example, look, Bournemouth beat Liverpool. We didn't, and we draw with Bournemouth. So this thing need better signing because Eddie Howe, the way he play, he's brave. So if we get better players, of course, it will be better results because this is what's going on with the team. That Eddie Howe building is is a brave team playing directly man to man. So we're really excited here about the signings. We're talking from now who is going to be signing because we really be excited to see the team in Champions League because I think this is it's a game changer for us.
Definitely a game changer. Okay, we are halfway through the show, and as always, we'll hit the ads. Big thanks to all our sponsors. Thanks to Skips and Bins. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria, and you can find them at mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk and place an order by phoning 01768 210 102. Thanks to Frui Vita Getaways. Book your holidays or short breaks in the UK or around the world with them. Let them find your happy place. Abta and Atol registered. You can contact them by emailing fruivitagetaways@gmail.com. Call or text 0792 842 7895 and join their Facebook group at Frui Vita Getaways. Thanks to Media Arts for all the technical help and videos that they do. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. If you want to join the channel, click join, and you can see the various rates that you can pay to help support us. If you want to join by subscribing, hit the subscribe button. That is free. Hit the thumb up under the video to help the algorithm, and click share to other social media platforms. If you do subscribe, we do give you a free car sticker. Just email John at nufcmatters.com and he will post you one out. If you want to join the cult, which is a one-off payment of £25, where you get a scarf, a pen, a cup, and entry into the monthly draw, then go to nufcmatters.com and look for the cult membership, or put your phone over this smart code, and it will take you straight there. We are available as well as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. And we do support the food bank on this channel. So if you want to make a virtual donation from anywhere in the world, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and put your money into the match day bucket. We've got some events coming up. First off in April, April the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 11th. Peter Beardsley Soccer School is back for ages 6 to 16 years. Go to peterbeardsley.soccerschool.com for more information. An evening with John Anderson at the Time House Surf Cafe, Tuesday the 18th of April. Book your tickets direct from the venue. An evening with Frank Clark and John Gibson 2 nights later, Thursday the 20th of April at the Irish Centre. Tickets from nufcmatters.com. An evening with Nobby Solano at Laurels in Whitley Bay is May the 11th. So contact the venue direct if you want to go to that event. And we've got our NUFC Matters end of season party, which is the 27th of May at 7 o'clock. Tickets are a tenner from nufcmatters.com. An evening with Rob Lee at Louis Liquor Store, 1st of June, and tickets direct from the venue. And an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford, Friday the 2nd of June at the Grand Hotel Gosforth, which is in aid of the Healing Tour charity. And you can get your tickets direct from them at the healingtour.org.uk website. Just click events. A little bit later in the year, an evening with Gavin Peacock, July the 10th. Tickets from nufcmatters.com for that one. And if you like your boxing, a night of champions featuring Frank Bruno, Ricky Hatton, Nigel Benn and Joe Calzaghe. Tickets for that one from goldstarpromotions.com. Just watching the ticker tape on Sky. Good to hear that there's going to be some more late bids for Manchester United. Let's hope one of them comes in from Mike Ashley. Ask George is next. Sure, we've had this on lookalikes before. Gary Milliken asks, George, can you see the resemblance to Ryan Taylor and Kevin?
The answer is yes.
My question is, Kevin,
as well.
I was just going to say that. Can you kick a free kick? Like, can you take a free kick?
I played wide all my life, yeah. I was nicknamed Baby Bex as a young'un as well, so there you go.
All right. David Cook says, ask George. I have a lot of programs from 1973 to 1980. If you need photos for those with the days, I could send them on Twitter. So there you go, George. He's offering you some photos.
It's a nice offer, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. If you can do that, that would be great. Donald says, question for George. Was weight training a part of your training regime when you played, George?
No, not when I first started. It wasn't by the time I was going out, after my knee injury, some of the more savvy senior players were starting to do it. Like I think I've said before, and here, Jackie Milburn was one of the first players to realise that footballers had to be athletes as well as footballers. And he, because of his interest in professional sprinting, because he won the Powder Hall twice, used to do weights, used to do all sorts of stretching exercises that his colleagues in the team wouldn't even think of doing. But not at my time. No, there was one or two lads who got into weights for fitness, but it wasn't an overall training thing. It wasn't the sort of thing where they said, well, we're going to do weights now. We did lots of strange exercises, jumping exercises to make sure we could jump and head a ball without putting our elbows in people's faces, which is something people now don't understand at all, and that sort of thing. But not weights, no.
Okay, and next question is from John Askew. He says, question for George, but it might be more suited to the other show covering seasons past. I think my first game at St James's was a friendly with Sunderland in the middle of 1973. Oh, we know all about friendlies in the middle of the season, John.
Yeah.
Watching George's show. Do you have any details about the game? Were you there? The football was interesting, but I think I was more hooked by the atmosphere. A friendly with Sunderland in 1973, George. I'd have to watch.
It was. They did a series of against Sunderland, Middlesbrough to become cock of the north. I think was the phrase they used, and that I remember that game, and it was a good atmosphere, and even for a friendly, if my memory serves us right, the crowd was still well over 45,000.
It would have been, yeah. Next question is from Mark. He says, a question for the gorgeous Stu Penman. Being a Hearts fan, what's your thoughts on the lack of game time for Garang Kuol?
I think he's been handled right. I think we've been asked this question before, but the first few games, a few of them were about on plastic pitches, and if you've got an asset that's not yours, you have to handle him with a bit more kid gloves, I suppose. And kid being operative word, the fact that he's just a Ben and he's flew halfway around the world, and I know Mitch and myself were there when Shola explained it in Riyadh at the fans meeting that we had there. It was chosen specifically because there was Australian players there that would help him settle in. The climate's going to be quite similar to what it is in Newcastle. He gets used to the British ways. Probably not too many fried Mars bars in Newcastle, but you get used to the British ways. And he is being integrated in, but Hearts are having, if you take Celtic and Rangers out, they're quite clear at the top of the league. So they're having what you call a successful season, and the squad was already doing well. And he's a good addition to the squad. And he is getting game time. And whether it's 10 minutes here, 50 minutes there, 20 minutes there, he has to do enough to impress to get into the team straight away. There's no God-given right because he plays for Newcastle that he should walk straight into a team. You know, it can be disrespectful to Scottish football in general saying that because he's 18, 19-year-old, or 18, I think he is, isn't he, from Australia. And because he's on Newcastle's books, he has to start. I don't think that was the agreement at all. It was just to make sure that they bring him on, I think, more in a personal way than a professional way, you know, to have him become accustomed to the British way of life and to get used to the Scottish game. There's a lot more kicks. You'll get kicked a lot more there than you would in the Premier League. But to be fair to the lad, even if he come at Newcastle, he wouldn't be getting in the first team squad anyway. Not as yet. I mean, Eddie Howe has a hesitancy to play the top players as soon as he signs them anyway. He blends them in. So a young lad, if you look at how Elliot Addison's been handled, you know, Cole would be behind that. I think as the season progresses at Hearts, you'll get more game time, and then we'll see more of him. You know, you get some starts and just let him develop. We can't want him to do well straight away because he plays for Newcastle and expect him to do well. We don't want to put too much pressure on the lad. By all accounts, he's enjoyed himself there, and he's happy with the club that's been chosen. And like I said, with the Australian lads being with him, he's comfortable and he's getting used to it. And with someone like with him, he's at the right club, and I wouldn't be surprised if they extend it for another year next season. I really wouldn't be surprised. And then that time he'll get a full pre-season into him, and they have to build him up. He's been doing a lot of weight training. Strangely, that was just mentioned one of the questions for George. He's been doing a lot of weight training. He needs to be able to look after himself more. There's no doubt he has that huge amount of potential. And we hope that he can start delivering it. And once he starts doing well for them, his integration into Newcastle will be a lot easier. So that's where I say I don't think there's anything happening. I might be biased in my opinion, but I don't think there's anything wrong the way it's been done. And there doesn't seem to be any murmurs coming out from him or his camp. It seems to be mostly from our own fan base expecting us to play 40 people every week because we've got a couple of players on loan. So leave him where he is. He's doing okay. And if it wasn't, they would hook him. They'll bring him back.
Good point. Yeah, okay. Ask George, when you were playing, what was it like heading the old-fashioned footballs, George?
All right, till it rained.
Rain.
And then suddenly something that was a few ounces became a couple of kilograms hitting your forehead. But I think you probably heard us say about this. My theory about the heading is that they need to concentrate more on making sure that people are heading the ball right. If they're heading the ball right, then I think that would prevent some of the problems they've got now. I see too many players, even in Premiership players, who aren't heading the ball right at all. One of the best, as it happens, one of the best headers I've seen for a long, long time was Isaac's header against the Wolves. That was incredible. That was real professional header, and forehead down, bang. It was like a kick on her head. It was a nightmare once the ball got wet. And of course, as somebody said, you had the lace to worry about as well. Because if the lace side came to you and you headed it, by Jove, you knew about that because you had the lace imprinted on your brow for the rest of the day. Nightmare.
Last question is an important one. Custard, cream or ice cream with apple crumble?
Oh, custard. I'm a mad custard fan, I'm afraid.
We'll get some questions on you. Like.
Well, if you want to take it a bit further, if you really pressed us, I would say evaporated milk, but otherwise on that list I'm given custard, but evaporated milk would be the one I would go for.
Okay, that's Ask George for this week. Okay, Paul Hodgson says, afternoon, lads. Does anyone else think that seeing Gordon and now Anderson play for even a short period has now made the decision on ASM's future at the club? They are notably more direct. George, his days numbered, do you think?
I think Friday night was the beginning of the end for me, for ASM, in the sense that I think come the summer, he'll be gone. I mean... Yes, Howe was making excuses about the fact that he may have had a possible hamstring, which is why he changed things around. But the matter of fact is that he sent Isaac out to the left, and that was only to do one thing, and that was to cover what ASM wasn't doing. And you can't if in a system like we're playing, you can't carry passengers. And there's some days where ASM, love him as I do for his skill, he just doesn't apply it often enough. And I think Friday night was the beginning of the end.
Okay. Kevin, you're nodding your head there. You must agree.
Yeah, agree. Again, the statement earlier is doing your job. He's not doing his job fully, in my opinion. Yes, he can travel from one part of the field to the other part of the field quickly and be direct. Yeah, his game's changed. More passing, essentially. But ultimately... in an Eddie Howe system, in a 4-3-3, you have to do your defensive responsibility, and he's not doing that. So I think his time's coming. Unfortunately, obviously we would like to keep high quality players, but if he's not willing to do the dirty side of the work, dirty side of the job, essentially your hard work, you're tackling, you're doing this, you're doing that. If he's not willing to do that, then you have to let him go, and again, it's a player with value. At the end of the day, and we could probably get a good, transfer fee for him. Sorry. So, yeah, it is what it is. And I think he's like a Conte thing. He's wrote his P45 pretty early because of his attitude and his application to the cause, essentially.
Okay. Mitch, is the end near for the French enigma?
I think the door will always remain open from Eddie Howe's side. I think that's been relatively clear, but I do think, you look at the money spent on Gordon and his age, and if Elliot Anderson starts to put shifts like that 45 at Forest, it starts to raise questions going forward. I would love to find room for him in the squad always, because I'm a sucker for that kind of player, but there has to come a time when going forward as the squad has to improve, and there ain't no time for sentimentality in that. And if he's a casualty of that, I think at the end of the day, you'll not have many other people to blame than himself. I've said before, we sometimes get hammered for being overly critical, but at the same time, I would love nothing more than to see ASM put the kind of shifts in we know he can every other game. We'd be flying and he'd be flying, but the brutal fact is he isn't, and so there's only he can make that difference.
Definitely, yeah. It's up to him, isn't it? At the end of the day, 100%. Steve, your views on the ASM subject. It's a difficult one. I think we've all seen the comments in the chat. I think on various shows, during the week and weeks gone by. A lot of people split on this. On this subject.
Yeah, I think if you take the whole season, he tore Man City apart. But I think that was, what was that, October or whenever that was when we played them, and you thought August was it even that far back? You thought this is the point where he'll go forward. His confidence should be there. He knows what to do, and we've never seen that again. I suppose probably the best game he had since then is probably the Liverpool game, where it was a bit sort of just do what you can, and he started drifting into the middle and being an individual, which is what he was when he was one of the star players. If you remember back prior to the takeover, we were terrified if either him or Wilson were going to be out, because that was all the players we had. We had Wilson likely to bang a goal or two in the front, and ASM doing his trickery on the side. But there was very little else in the team at that time. Now it's totally different. We're very much a team altogether, and you've got to work together. And I think Eddie Howe's tried to get him to be involved more in the passing game, but I think it's made his other games suffer, because I think you can see him not sure whether he's going to take person on or try and pass it, and he's caught between a rock and a hard place as to how to play it. And I think his type of game is more suited to doing what he wants to do, and I think he'd be better off for his own career to be doing that. I don't know where, France, somewhere else in Europe. We'll get a few quid for him. He's not going to be given away for next to nothing. He is certainly a talented player, but I just don't think he fits into the style. And I think other players like Gordon, Anderson, whoever else might play on that side that we may recruit in the summer transfer will be bought in to fit the style of player that we know we want to play. And I don't think ASM's got the right sort of ability to do it. And we wish him well. He's been a good servant. I think that would apply to anybody else that will move on in the summer, because I think there will be others that are established players from the past that will be departing. Wish him well wherever he goes, and we'll keep an eye on what he's doing. But I cannot see it working here, and particularly with Anderson. As I say, I think Joe Linton will probably play wide left against Man U. Gordon will come back in, and it's another potential to play in that position. So ASM is well down the pecking order of getting in the team, and I don't think we'll see much more of him.
I don't, unless we get a few more injuries. I can't see it. Stu, I mean, it's been an interesting few weeks, hasn't it? There's been lots of things change, and as I say, the emergence of Anderson. I know one game doesn't make a season for him, but he didn't really get much chance to prove himself against Liverpool with Pope sending off. He was obviously substituted off, but took his chance against Forest, and it's all about levels. And he introduced himself to the Premier League. I felt, and of course Anthony Gordon. We've spent £40 million on him. Didn't spend £40 million on him to make him sit on the bench, did we? Really?
You wouldn't have thought so, but it's an area that they've obviously identified that they look to improve on, and there's a few areas of the team that we're all managers, aren't we, when we're watching them, but there's a few areas that we'd all like to improve on. We all come up with ideas of who we think we would like to put in that place, etc. But the top and bottom of it drops down to Eddie Howe's decision, and does he think whichever player, whether it's ASM, whether it's Bruno, whether it's Nick Pope, whether it's Trippier, are they doing the instructions that they've been given? Are they carrying them out the right way? Are they performing as part of the team? Because the team ethic is what this squad's built on, and that's what's got us our performances. Are they producing what's required and what's requested of them? And I think we've seen the reaction or the frustration of Graham Jones on Friday. To me, that was aimed at Allan Saint-Maximin. Now, I'm with Mitch. I think he's a fantastic player. Not Mitch, ESM. I think he's a I think he's a fantastic player on his day. But those days are becoming fewer and fewer and further between the next one and the next one. And that's it. Yeah, I don't think we've had a player that's been split the fan base's opinion as much for a long time. So that there isn't a right thing. You could say, no, he needs to get sold. But the romantic in all of us would love him because the frustrating part is we know what he's capable of in flashes. We've seen it. And if he could deliver that on a consistent basis, we do have a genuine world-class player in our hand. The problem is, and sadly, wanting it and him being able to deliver that are two different things. And I think at best, if he was to see it next season, I've already expressed my opinion that I don't think he will be here next season if we get a taker at the right price. And it looks like to me they've already got a replacement in him with Gordon and the fact of the emergence of young Elliot Anderson. I think he's only going to get better. It's a position, or he's a player that we can afford to lose, where we couldn't have said that any time in the last 3 or 4 years. So we have to progress as a team, as a club, to start achieving things. And yeah, I'd love him to stay in the squad, but would he accept to be a bit part player? I don't think he would. I don't think that would allow it to happen. And if we start reading between the lines, Eddie Howe mentioned in a press conference, you remember a few weeks before the cup final, that Saint-Maximin had a window of opportunity. He had like the 3 games, and basically what he's saying is, I'm going to play you in those 3 games. Do what you like. You show me that you're undroppable. And I don't think even he's the most ardent fan would say he did enough to merit his place in the starting 11. And I think Eddie Howe was being kind. Again, just my opinion. I think Eddie Howe was being kind, saying that he was carrying a slight injury, because we all know he wouldn't play him if he had any doubts about injuries, irrespective of the injuries we've got. If you look at the positions and players that he's put in the teams, when people have been injured, it's about protecting the players long-term rather than trying to get a short-term fix. I think he was covering for him. I don't think he grabbed that window of opportunity, and I'd be surprised if he starts the next game. But I'd be equally delighted if he did start the next game and he played against Man United like he did against Manchester City back in August. Yeah. But irrespective of all that, just to sum up the topsy-turvy explanation I've given, it'll take some goal to beat his goal against Wolves as our goal of the season. That's the Allan Saint-Maximin goal, want and love. Clearly, he can't produce that every game, but that's the ability that he does have. What I think frustrates a lot of fans is the sulkiness, the throwing the hands in the air, sitting on the ground, not tracking back. When you know he's not injured, get up and chase back, help your team, and it must frustrate the team, his teammates as well. So, will he be there next season? I wouldn't have thought so, but I'd love to be sitting here in August saying I'm wrong, because that means he's had a blistering finish to this season, and we all benefit from that.
Yeah. Al-Walid, your thoughts on ASM? Is it is this the big farewell? Now this season, do you think we'll be moving him on?
It's very, very hard topic, actually. If I watch closely, I try to watch closely always Saint-Maximin, especially to analyze some point as for like rating. For example, Liverpool game, the one we play with 10 men, and Manchester United, the final. I think Saint-Maximin was the better player. I think he missed the way we play before with Steve Bruce. He missed that style of play, the spaces, the teams give us spaces because we were defending, and he liked this style of play. He shined in that style of play. Unfortunately, this is not going much with Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe tried to win it all. He tried to keep as much as the player, give him the opportunity. But the thing is, it's different style of play. Saint-Maximin is a great player, and I think he's very skillful. But the thing is the tactics. of Eddie Howe and the tactics of the other teams now against us doesn't help Maximin to give his strength point. And also, I did notice that maybe I call it like heavy exercise of the team. I can say Shelby, Maximin, maybe Wilson. The training level is very exhausting for them. They didn't used to that with Steve Bruce with 3 sessions a week. Now, and we noticed the injury, the latest injury of the players. It's last Almiron and I think Jordan. It's all in training, so that means the training of Newcastle. I attend the training of Newcastle when they come in Riyadh. It's very tough. So not every player can handle this. I think this level of training. So and I think Shelby and Maximin and Wilson suffer from this. So to finish up is I'm happy to be to have him as an option because he's a good. We will need him some minutes in some difficult situation. As I said, Liverpool and Manchester United, he was really great performance. So it's depend on the team. Is the player, is Saint-Maximin happy to be an option? Because I don't think he will continue to be starter under Eddie Howe.
All interesting stuff, as always, from around the world as well. I'm back tomorrow night. It'll be a pre-recorded show with me and Supermac and Gibbo. I'm working away tomorrow, so unable to do a live, but I have already recorded it, and it's a great show with Supermac and Gibbo, 6 o'clock tomorrow. And then I'll be back with the Amigos at 5 o'clock, where we will be discussing our meeting with Sarah Metcalf at the club. Me, Keith, and Steve.
Yeah, the meeting today.
Oh, we did. I don't know whether anyone mentioned it on Twitter. But yeah, we have been up there today. It went very well. And I will be filling in you guys with the lads on Friday at 5 o'clock. But for now, thanks for joining us. Thanks for Mitch. Thanks to Kevin. Thanks to George. Thanks to Steve, Stu, and Alwaleed. But most importantly, thanks to you. Take care. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, lads.
Night, everybody.